Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, you can't seem to move forward? Like something or many things are holding you in place? Loss affects all of us, whether it's the loss of a loved one, a dream, a relationship, or even a part of yourself. It can feel like a weight that keeps us stuck.
Here's what I've learned after many years of working with people navigating loss, including myself. So being stuck isn't permanent. In this video, we'll explore not just what keeps us anchored in place, but the practical steps you can take to start moving forward again today. If you're feeling stuck right now, please know that you're not alone. So let's talk about how to break free.
Welcome to Your Best Work, a channel dedicated to helping you create your best life. When we think of loss, we often think of grief and mourning someone who's passed, but loss comes in many forms, and each one can create its own kind of stuck. Let me share what I mean. Maybe you've experienced the loss of identity. You used to know exactly who you were, confident, certain of your path. Then something changed. A career shift, becoming a parent, or even just the natural process of aging. Suddenly, the person in the mirror feels like a stranger. Or perhaps you're dealing with the loss of a dream, that business you poured your savings into, the relationship you thought would last forever, the future you planned so carefully, only to watch it slip away. This kind of loss can be especially painful because we lose not just what was, but what could have been. Then there's the loss of relationships. And I'm not just talking about death, though that's certainly profound. I'm talking about friendships that fade away, partnerships that end, or even just growing distant from someone who used to be your whole world. Each connection that breaks leaves its own unique mark. But perhaps the most challenging loss of all is the loss of hope. That quiet belief that tomorrow will be better than today. When we lose that spark of hope, even small steps forward can feel impossible.
So if you're nodding along to any of these, I want you to know something important. These feelings are not just normal, they're human. And understanding the type of loss you're dealing with is the first step toward breaking free. Loss creates a kind of emotional quicksand. And here's what makes it so challenging. The more we fight against it or try to ignore it, the deeper we sink. Think about what happens when you step into quicksand. Your instinct is to struggle, to fight against it. But that's exactly what makes you sink faster. Loss works the same way. The harder we try to push it away or pretend it's not there, the more stuck we become. But it's rarely just one loss that holds us back. So imagine carrying a backpack, and with each loss, each disappointment, each ending, you add another stone. Maybe some are small, like a friendship that drifted apart. Others might be boulder-sized, like the loss of a loved one or a dream that you had to let go of. Over time, these unprocessed losses accumulate. We might not even realize we're carrying them all, but their weight, their collective weight, can leave us feeling completely paralyzed. Then there's what I call the cycle of rumination. You know, those thoughts that play on repeat in your mind. The what-ifs that haunt you at 3 a.m. in the morning, the if-onlys that pop up when you're trying to move forward. These thoughts create a loop, like a record playing the same track over and over. What if I had done things differently? If only I'd known then what I know now. See, each rotation of these thoughts keeps us tethered to the past, making it nearly impossible to step fully into the present. So I want you to take a moment right now and ask yourself, what losses are you carrying? What stories are you replaying? What weight have you been shouldering that's keeping you from moving forward? The answer might not come easily. Sometimes we've carried those weights for so long, they feel like a part of us. But recognizing them is the first step towards setting them down. So let's explore how to start breaking free from the cycle by reframing our losses. because while loss might be inevitable, staying stuck is not. Now, when I talk about reframing loss, I want to be very clear about something. This isn't about minimizing your pain or pretending that everything is fine. It's not about forcing positivity or rushing to get over it.
Reframing is about finding new meaning in our experiences, even the painful ones. It's about asking ourselves, how can this loss become part of my story without becoming my whole story?
So let's look at how this works with different types of loss. If you're struggling with loss of identity, maybe after a career change, becoming a parent, or going through a major life transition, consider this. Every version of yourself that you've left behind has taught you something valuable. Maybe losing who you were isn't just an ending, but it's an invitation to consciously choose who you want to become. So when a dream dies, it can feel like a door slamming shut. But here's what I've learned from my own experience and from working with others. Sometimes what feels like a closed door is actually life's way of redirecting us towards something we couldn't have even imagined before. So ask yourself, what new possibilities might this loss be making room for? What dreams haven't you allowed yourself to consider until now? The loss of relationships, whether through death or distance or decision, that creates a space in our lives. And while that space can feel very painful and can feel painfully empty at first, it also holds potential. It might be an opportunity to deepen your relationship with yourself, to discover new connections, or to learn what kinds of relationships truly serve your growth. Now, let's talk about acceptance, because this is really crucial. Acceptance doesn't mean you have to like what happened. It doesn't mean you have to be happy about it, but acceptance simply means acknowledging reality as it is, not as you wish it was. So think of acceptance like setting down that heavy backpack we talked about earlier. You're not pretending it's never existed. You're not dismissing its importance. You're just choosing not to carry its weight into your future. So remember, the goal isn't to erase the loss from your story. The goal is to keep it from being the only story you tell yourself about who you are and what's possible for your life. So let's explore specific practices that can help you move through this process of reframing and acceptance. Okay, so now that we understand how loss keeps us stuck, let's talk about practical steps you can take to start breaking free. And remember, this isn't about rushing the process. It's about taking intentional steps when you're ready.
The first step might sound simple, but it's often the hardest. Acknowledge what you've lost. Not just the surface loss, but all the deeper implications of it. If you lost a job, maybe you've also lost your sense of purpose, financial security, or daily routine. Naming these losses gives them less power over you. Try this. Take out a piece of paper and write down everything you're carrying, everything you've lost. Be completely honest with yourself. No one else needs to see this. Next, and this is crucial, give yourself permission to feel the pain of these losses. You might be tempted to just push through or brush it off, but that's like trying to heal a wound without cleaning it first.
So find out what works for you. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's talking with a therapist or a trusted friend, maybe it's allowing yourself to cry or express anger in a safe space. There's no wrong way to feel your feelings.
Once you've acknowledged and processed the loss, you can start to look at it differently. Not to minimize it, but to find meaning in it. So ask yourself, what has this experience taught me about my strength? What do I now know that I didn't know before?
So this isn't about forcing positivity. It's about finding purpose in your pain. Every loss changes us. The question is, how will you let it change you? Finally, and this is where the real change begins, start taking small steps forward. The key word here is small. You don't need to know exactly where you're going. Maybe your first step is simply getting out of bed earlier. Maybe it's reaching out to one person. Maybe it's spending 5 minutes doing something that brings you joy. Whatever it is, make it small enough that it feels doable. So right now, I want you to think about one small step you could take today. Just one. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be forward. So write it down, commit to it, and remember, moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to carry your experiences differently. So let's talk about how to maintain this forward momentum even when it gets challenging. So here's something that I've learned through my own journey with loss. While we can't choose what we lose, we can choose how we carry those losses forward. Loss is indeed a part of life, but it doesn't have to define your life. Every ending creates space for something new to begin. Every closed door invites us to look for new openings, not immediately and not without ignoring what was lost, but eventually. So think about where you are right now. Maybe you're still in the midst of processing a loss. Maybe you're just starting to feel ready to take those first steps forward. Wherever you are in the journey, know that it's okay to be there. If this message resonated with you today, I invite you to share it with someone else who might need to hear it, because sometimes knowing that we're not alone in our struggles is the first step toward healing. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What's one thing that you're ready to let go of? What small step are you willing to take today? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to start their own journey forward. Thank you for spending this time with me. And so remember, your losses are part of your story, but they don't have to be the end of it. So when you do your best work, even the hard work of moving forward, you create your best life.
Your best work lifts you from the ground. With every move, you're reaching higher. A life you love, fueled by your fire. When you do your best work, you create your best life. Every dream you follow turns the dark into light. It's your moment to shine, your story to write. When you do your best work, you create your best life.